everybody, my name is Amanda and I study English literature at Glasgow University, and today we are going to talk about exams. And for me personally, exams are coming up in just about a week, and therefore we really need to make sure that we use our time as efficiently and productively as possible. So today I am here to share with you some of my tips for making every study session as good of a session as possible. So this video is not going to be about specific study tips because there are other videos out there for that, but this will be more how to set yourself up for success. If you have an entire day of studying ahead of you, how do you maximize your efficiency for that one day? So without further ado, let's jump into it. And I guess you've probably heard this already, but a successful study day, of course, starts the day before. I really like to go to the gym the day before I have an entire day of studying, just so I know that my head is clear, and I make sure to go to bed early because I want to be able to get up early and be ready for the day. But also I make sure that I have everything that I need to bring with me to the library or wherever I'm going. I have that prepared the night before so I can just grab my bag and go out the house. And I think that's really important to not overload yourself when you're planning. So I usually only take 1 or maximum 2 subjects with me to wherever I'm going to study, and that kind of helps me to focus and go into depth about what I'm gonna do that day. So if I'm going to do English literature, for instance, I only take 2 books maybe that I'm going to do research on, and I might do that before lunch, and then I take my Spanish with me for the afternoon, and that way I don't get bored of what I'm doing, but I'm also not overloading myself with different types of work. So make sure that you make it as easy for yourself as possible by planning and organizing the day before so you're ready for the day ahead. My next tip is also quite obvious one, and that is make sure that you eat a good breakfast. I'm currently obsessed with doing a 1/4 cup of porridge oats and a 1/4 cup of oat bran, combining that in a pot with a cup of water and just adding some cinnamon and some almond milk and a bit of sugar on top, and I'm just obsessed. It is so nice. I have it every morning, and I think having a really good breakfast that will give you long-term energy is super important, both to get you going for the day but also keep you going for the day. My next tip is something I touched upon in an earlier video where I talked about study tips, and that is study spaces. And I think that they are so underestimated when it comes to studying, and that is that you really want to make sure that the place where you are doing your studying is a place that your brain associates with studying, because then when you get to that space your brain will just snap into attention because it kind of recognizes that this is where I usually study, this is a place designated for study. I would highly advise against studying in your bed, for instance, but whether your study space is in your room, your living room, a cafe or a library, just make sure that you're really set on making this your study area, because your brain needs that extra push sometimes. So when you've had your breakfast, you are now in your study space. The important thing is that between your study chunks, I guess, I would highly advise taking longer breaks, whether you do the Pomodoro technique or whatever suits you. That when you do take a break from studying, walk around, preferably outside, but that's not always possible. Make sure that you move your body, make sure that you get away from what you're doing, that you get some physical distance from the work you're doing, because if you're gonna take a break, make sure that it's actually a break. So the second and final thing that I find really important is keeping hydrated, for one, but also making sure that you eat healthy, in that the snacks that you bring, and I do recommend bringing snacks, is somewhat healthy, because even though your brain gets really quick energy from coffee or chocolate, you need to also balance that out with a slower type of energy, let's say fruit and nut mix, for instance, or like a homemade granola bar. Just make sure that you don't only rely on the chocolate, on the coffee, because although those are very good for like a quick pick-me-up or just a way to kind of reward yourself when you are doing something really well, You just need to make sure that you have something that's actually sustainable and that will keep you going throughout the day and you won't crash halfway through. And the very last tip is what you do at the end of your study day, and that again sets you up for the next day of studying, and that is that when you're done, you are done. Get this distance that when you pack up and go home, you've done your work for the day. Don't worry about it, don't think about it. Have a glass of wine, have a snack, go out with your friends, watch a film, do something that do not have anything to do with studying. If you've done a great day of studying, you should feel accomplished, and even though we have exams coming up, your brain do need that rest in order to be productive for the next day and the next day. So it's all about this intense studying, taking a step back, intense studying, distancing yourself, taking a step back, and that's at least how I find myself being the most productive. So that's pretty much how I set myself up for success when it comes to studying. I'm obviously not an expert. I've just been a student for what feels like a very long time, and I've studied quite a lot throughout my days. And you will be able to take from this video what you think will be applicable to your situation. This is just how I do things, what works for me. And if you have any other tips, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, or if you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer them there as well. So thank you very much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I shall see all of you guys in another video. Bye!